I would say we
I saw a 30-foot section of a crown of a tree fall towards me in front of me, about 150 yards in front of me. Where
Part 2 is
in that
going
windstorm,
on. Part 2?
you never see anything like that.
Part 2. How do you spell that? D-E-U-X?
Yes. All right.
Never seen it.
Improvement Service Committee come to order. We're continuing from the first section. Alderman Nicholson has left. Alderman Weary's here. I'll be chairing. Alderman Nennig is here. Alderman Vanderleest and Alderman Stoyer is sitting in for Alderman Nicholson. We are on number 7, I believe.
Yes.
Consideration with possible action on request by Department of Public Works to discuss master license agreement between the City of Green Bay and Wisconsin Technology Networking LLC, contingent upon placing on file with the city applicable insurance, obtain all necessary city approvals, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the agreement, and to authorize the director of public works to execute the supplemental licenses for each site. This is held over from October 26th. Director.
So on October 26th, we had a brief presentation and provided a copy of the draft master agreement that's been worked on between City of Green Bay, Department of Public Works, City of Green Bay Law Department, and Wisconsin Technology Networking. There were some additional questions that folks had, so I guess we're in a position to hear from Wisconsin Technology Networking if you have any questions of them, but the agreement itself hasn't changed since the last meeting.
Anyone on the committee have any questions for staff or Wisconsin Technology Networking?
One little question, Steve.
Alderman Vanderleest.
On the, that's gonna be the placement of the poles that they're gonna be putting throughout the city. Is this pretty much that license that we're talking about?
Correct. Again, just in brief, what we're looking at is entering into a master agreement between the city and WTN. WTN is a public service regulated utility. So as a PSC regulated utility, they have a statutory right to occupy public right-of-way. There are some municipalities who have decided to try to pass an ordinance or revise their ordinances in a way to regulate, limit, or some communities in Wisconsin have tried to outright ban this type of cell network from going in. Again, they're a regulated utility. Statutorily, they have the right to be there. No different than Wisconsin Public Service does or American Transmission Corp., okay? They just happen to have a different service that they provide. So our approach with it was, why should we be in opposition to each other? Why we should instead sit down and work cooperatively so that we put them in where it's most appropriate, and we can make sure that all the users of the right-of-way are adequately protected. So we sat down, and it's very much been a cooperative exchange between the two, between the city and WTN. They want to be able to provide, and they're not a cell company. They're not Sprint, they're not Verizon, they're not Cellcom, so they don't provide cell service to somebody. The biggest parallel that I've been able to draw is looking at a Wisconsin Public Service versus American Transmission. ATC owns the transmission line, so they bring power from one spot to another, but they don't go directly to the home. Wisconsin Public Service does that, okay? So WTN has cellular capability. They've got the pipe, and then they sell their bandwidth to a Sprint, to a Verizon, to whomever needs that coverage in a certain area. And that's what changes them from being, they're a PSC regulated utility as opposed to a franchise utility. So
Are they more cell, in other words?
They are definitely cell.
Satellite type operation?
It's
No stringing any lines or anything like that?
correct.
Okay.
That
That kinda gets the drift of it then.
Any of their facilities are largely going to be underground except for the tower itself that's projected. So what we're looking at here is this master agreement sets the terms and conditions under which they will operate within the city of Green Bay, but doesn't pin down the individual locations. This provides the framework in which they can operate. Then the supplemental licenses that we're talking about, okay, so the mayor and the clerk would execute the master agreement allowing them to operate within the city of Green Bay. The supplemental licenses are the site-specific locations. Those we would handle at a staff level, and what we will do with that is, again, we have to take a look at what they're proposing, where they're proposing, and what other utilities already reside in that space. Is there adequate room for them to be there, and can we do that without endangering the public, either the pedestrians, bicyclists, and/or motorists.
Okay, so there'll be more regulation coming behind this first step, is what you're telling me?
Well, again, this sets up
The framework.
the conditions.
Okay.
Okay? The actual location, and if there's something specific that, let's go really outlandish, something that'll never happen just for demonstrative purposes. Yes, we want, a pole would be applicable here, but because there's doodads at this intersection, you gotta wrap it with bubble wrap. Okay, something like that. That level of details down at the supplemental license level, but the master agreement allowing a pole to reside within the right-of-way, that's what this thing does. But what, we're looking to approve both the master agreement and then allowing staff to take care of those supplemental licenses at a staff level. Because otherwise, correct, how many locations have we been talking about preliminarily? 27?
Originally 26, we are at 5 more.
Okay, so we would be
31.
at 31. Bringing this in one time for you folks to deal with versus bringing in 31 of them and taking up your time with repetitive, you know, once we establish the conditions that we got all this hammered out, then we're down to individual locations. If you really want us to take up your Wednesday nights with 31 of these, I'm more than happy to do that for you, but if you don't want to do it and you want to let staff take care of it, we're happy to do that too.
Anything else, Alderman Vandelis?
That's it.
Alderman Straugh?
Okay, thank you, Chair. Steve, with this agreement with WTN, was it driven by certain factors as far as why now? Was there anything in
Well,
the
the
past that we?
The biggest factor was WTN
They came forward.
came to us and said, we want to install some facilities within your right-of-way. What ordinances do you have that we need to meet? How can we do this to be compliant with the city?
Okay.
And again, there were some municipalities who've taken a more aggressive approach or a more adversarial approach. We looked at it and said, they have a right to be here. How can we do this and work together and make it
Have we done this
beneficial?
with any other groups?
We have. There, and I'm trying to remember what the name of the company was, but we had a company come to us a couple of years ago with what they termed microcell technology at the time. And they're not widespread. There was a couple of small pockets, especially in the southeast part of the city, where there were some dead zones. And they attached to Wisconsin Public Service utility poles. But again, they're within our right-of-way. So we negotiated an agreement with them, allowing them to be, so this is not without precedence. This is something we
Okay.
have done with similar types of providers before. WTN is a lot bigger
Right.
scale.
But do you foresee other groups that are out there that will come forward is case-by-case basis? Or is
I'm-
it something where you can say, you know what, let's be proactive and try to get something that's all-encompassing as well as you can
Well,
for
as we
others?
discussed at the October meeting,
It's-
cell phone technology, wireless technology, I think is here to stay. Okay, so more and more people are carrying tablets and Wi-Fi capable devices. So cellular bandwidth or Wi-Fi type communication is going to be necessary. Do I think this is the last one of these companies who's coming? No, I think we're going to see others come in.
Right.
I think a lot of the work that went into this agreement is gonna pay fruit going forward, because we're not gonna have to reinvent. The next company who comes and says, Steve, we would like to have facilities within the right-of-way, we're gonna say, okay, we have an agreement we drafted with WTN that we think works well for the city, let's work off of this.
But this agreement that is set up would be, I won't say generic, but it kind of covers other groups that would come forward.
I
mean,
would
it
say
cover the
it's,
bases
it would be easily adaptable to other
others.
situations, yes.
Okay. Good, that's what thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Rennick?
You know, I'm not sure that I understand completely the difference between a cell tower and this. You know, there are some cell towers out there that are owned by a third party, and they lease space on their towers to cellular companies. And, you know, we've seen that in a number of different locations around the city. I'm not sure that I understand the difference between that and a regulated utility, but I guess regardless, I did look at what was proposed here, and you know, I think it's a pretty well drafted agreement. And it does call for annual fees to be paid to the city for each pole location. And you know, the thing with cell towers is that with a cell tower, we don't have a lot of regulatory authority. Here, we can, you know, if we have a problem that something doesn't fit or we feel there are safety concerns where they're proposing to locate it, you know, we have some rights on this to make that case. And you know, I don't have a problem with having the staff do it, just like the staff determines other utilities that are located in the right of way, you know, where they're going to be located and how they're going to be wired. You know, I don't have any problem with that. The only thing I would ask, and it's not part of the agreement, but the only thing I would ask is that if there is a new pole, you know, so a lot of these are on existing poles, so, you know, to put an attachment on the pole, I don't really have a problem with that. I don't really see that as being intrusive or something. But if there's a new pole, like a 120-foot pole or something in our districts, you know, I would hope you at least inform the aldermen of the districts that's in, so that if we have safety concerns or other concerns, you know, within the timeline that's outlined here, that we could talk about it.
Sure.
But it's a surprise, you know, that comes
Agree.
as a surprise.
Yep.
That's the only thing I would ask. And as far as I'm concerned, you know, like for new poles, you know, I don't care about putting something like that on an existing pole.
How many of the 120 footers are we gonna be looking at?
Alderman Vanderleest,
Excuse me.
I was enough. Alderman Story had a question, then we can go over you, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Alderman.
Thank you, Chair. Steve, with what Alderman Nenning brought up, the fact that it's within the street right away, you know, it's city property in a sense,
Right.
you know. Does the state have any possibility to supersede us
No.
within our right-of-ways? Right-of-ways? Okay. That was it? All right.
Thanks, Alderman Vanderleest.
I was just gonna ask him, how many 120 footers are you proposing right now?
There are 3 in the initial 26, and there are 3 more in the last 5.
Are you still proposing that one on Military there, right in the corner of 9th and Military?
Yes, we are, yes.
That's on the opposite side of the street of where the utilities are right now?
Yes. Yes, it's in front of the old Red Owl.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of the others.
How far down would you have it?
I would have to look at the map. I want to say it's probably about 50 feet from the corner. But, and again, what they've been talking about is if there's a problem with underground utilities or the location there, I've been sitting down with nearly 70-some jurisdictions, and we look at each individual site and then go over each of the sites.
Just for example, like the city owns a parcel of property there where they have
Where the old water tower was,
Yeah.
right?
that part, now that'd be an out of, in other words, they could have it away from the road even if you went to that site.
And
You know,
those types of discussions, where WTN is identified, they've got a pretty good idea of where they need to put that pole, but if moving it across the street 80 feet away still accomplishes their needs and provides for a better install because it's city-owned property, or it's on an underutilized or unused piece of property, or gets it away from a sanitary sewer or something like that, that's the level of detail that gets down at those supplemental licenses. That's where staff wants to be able to work those issues out directly to WTN. And again, what we've seen working through this part of the document already, like Alder Nenning had referred to, there's a lot of regulation that went away. The state took a lot of our ability to regulate cell service, but WTN came to us and they're willing to sit down and be a good steward within our right-of-way. They want to be a good partner with us and work with us. So why would we be adversarial with somebody who's working towards the same ends we are?
Well, consider that site anyway where that old water tower was, because
I remember.
it's not being nothing done with it.
Sure.
They took that water tower down probably, 20 years ago? We used to shoot a 22 up at it. You know, you hear ding, and, you know.
Gotta take that one off the record.
Joking, yeah.
Yeah, can you,
Statute of limitations ran out on that.
It's attorney-client privilege.
Yeah, but I climbed it once. He
If-
broke his arm. but-
If I could, just for the record, sir, could I get your name as the representative from
Sure, it's
WTM?
Brent Mahalik.
Brent Malik, okay.
Mahalik, yep.
Thank you,
Mobility.
appreciate it.
The staff's got my cards and that.
All right, what are your wishes, committee?
Move to approve.
Motion by Alderman Nenning, second by Alderman Vangelis to approve. Any discussion?
Want to see the video he has, or?
Nope.
Oh, well,
It won't hurt my feelings, but if you want to know a little more about what we're
do we
doing,
need some popcorn, or?
well, let's do it.
No, well,
As long as we're here.
let me
let's
get
do
a
it.
couple quick snapshots, quick.
You bet.
All right.
all right, we'll hold on the vote here. Under
This way
discussion,
you
we'll-
understand what it is.
Is Steve in it?
Okay,
Steve is face for radio.
Danziger?
this just shows data's going up and up and up. That was what we heard just a few minutes ago. Things that are using this type of technology, even your water meters. In fact, number 9 on your agenda, in order to make that pay-by-pay work, this is the type of system that's needed. I like the analogy that was used before with the power lines. I also liken it to, think of we're going to be that fiber optic line in the air. Okay, so you got fiber optic that runs from building to building and point to point. It can't get up into the air. So the cellular carriers need to be able to transmit at that 5G technology that's coming along here. They need to be able to transmit at that data speed. They can't because of the dispersal of their antenna arrays. They need something like what we're doing, which is putting the fiber optic in the right of ways to get it closest to where it's needed. So we are that fiber optic line. Everything's being sent then through our data stream. So we are, again, that fiber optic line in the air. 70,000 pole build out nationwide. We have CLEC status in all 50 states. That's the CLEC status, and I think your attorneys looked at all of that. Show you how the technology, this is not what we're doing. Okay, we're not doing these big antenna arrays. The antenna pole, you see the live one on the right, that's 120 foot with the gentleman at the base of it. So that's the 120-foot pole. So it's more of a streamlined design. It's not the big antenna arrays, but still it's a 120-foot pole. These transports are the key piece that's needed to link all of the micro poles, the small mini poles, to the internet and on out. So some of these, and I'll show you quick how, here's what the mini poles look like, light attachments to street-owned street lights. On the right is an actual pole in Atlanta. Those are that's a 45-foot version of the 75-foot pole. The equipment's exactly the same. So it's a telephone pole with streamlined equipment on it. Here's some examples of what those poles look like. This is up in Marinette, 75-foot pole on the left, and the ATC transmission pole of 110 foot on the right. Here's how the system essentially works. I'll point this up real quick. This is probably the best diagram. They just released this one to us a few weeks ago. So we have a series of the small cells, those street poles, the 75-foot, those type of things, transmitting the radio waves to the macro poles, these large transport poles. Some of these are connected to mobility-owned fiber that we would draw to them, and some of them don't need the fiber drawn to them. They transmit to the other large transport poles to send the data on out to the internet, to our call center in Las Vegas, and then back on out to the customers. So it was correct in saying we don't have customers. Our customers are your Sprints, your Verizons, those companies that need to transmit high-speed data. The other thing we do have, and I'll go back real quick, something that I've always told people to think about, and this is what we're doing with Howard, the Village of Howard. They need space on our pole to transmit from their village hall to their DPW. And they need a microwave space to connect those two. So what they're doing is they're widening the right-of-way, because we do operate in the right-of-way, they're widening the right-of-way to locate next to their village hall to be able to send that data for them into their village hall, to connect their DPW with their village hall. So we are working with the communities. I've gone to just about everybody that I can think of at this point, but I've probably visited nearly 80 or 90 jurisdictions now, I'm guessing. And we sit down and go through it. We want to set ourselves as the company you want to talk with first, because these things are coming. probably other companies at some point, but we want to set that standard, just like what you're saying. So we will sit down and work through any of the issues that come along. So that's it. That's the 5-minute version. If anybody's got any questions of what we're
Any
doing?
questions, gentlemen?
Just a quick one.
Sure.
Thank you for coming in. So you're saying you're doing that with Howard. Is that Green Bay? Are we thinking of anything along those lines? Or, I mean, that's to keep their building, the DPW building, in contact with the village hall because they're separate, correct?
Correct. And
So it's not, I mean, we're all in one building here.
Right, well,
Somewhat.
we also, several years ago, we partnered with Brown County, we put the joint city-county fiber in, so all of our infrastructure, or all of our buildings are interconnected already.
Okay.
So we don't need fiber optic in the air because we have fiber optic under the ground. But entering into a master agreement like this, if needs arise in the future where we need to supplement, that's something that we could then sit down with WTN and say, can we amend this agreement? We've discovered a need for something, and you've got some infrastructure that we might be able to pony off of. Can we amend the agreement and do that? And once we have an agreement,
But right now, we're doing fine with
Right,
what we
yeah.
have, but there's always that possibility.
sure.
Yeah, we would look at amending the agreement.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, sir.
I was worried about talking like that, because all of a sudden you guys decided to shoot it down, based on something I said. But no, it's all open. Let us know.
All right, number 8, consideration with possible action on Department of Public Works bulk waste bunker program.
More than anything, we want to get this out in front of you. A lot of information to digest in a short period of time. But we maintain 2 bulk waste drop-off bunkers, one at the east and west garage locations, east and west side shop. Back in 2014, we completed our conversion of solid waste collection from a manual to a fully automated process. And as a part of that, the no-charge curbside bulk waste program was eliminated, and we decided to establish the 2 bulky waste drop-off centers and to have 2 no-charge collection at the curb days each year. There are certain types of waste that are not allowed to be dropped off at the bulky waste centers. Construction, any contractor-generated waste, waste from non-city residents, construction waste, remodeling waste, residential move-out, recyclable materials, those are not allowed to go to the recycling center or to the drop-off centers. If we take a look over just the past 3 years, in 2013, we did 5,600 residential bulk waste collections, totaling 863 tons of material. We paid $35,500 in tipping fees at Brown County to dispose of that. In 2014, when we went fully automated, we collected curbside from only 3,000, so we went down almost to half in the number of stops. However, the volume went up from 863 tons to 1,450 tons, and the corresponding tipping fees increased from $35,500 to $62,200. In 2015, now we're a full year into our automated collection. The bulk waste centers at the garages are in full operation. Everybody knows where to go and what to do. We've now dropped from, over 2 years, we went from 5,600 stops to 2,000 stops, but the total waste tonnage we're getting rid of is up from 863 tons to 2,400 tons, and the curbs, or the tipping fees have gone up from $35,500 to $103,000. The reason for this is because of the bulk waste drop-off centers at the garages. So far through 2016, we anticipate, if we continue based off the numbers through September, already through September, we've collected 2,128 tons of bulk waste. We anticipate to hit 2,837 tons of bulk waste, tipping fees at $117,736. Okay? When you look at that, you might be able to argue that this program is a rousing success. Look at all the waste per capita. Not so, okay? What we're finding is it's more than just Green Bay residential bulky waste. We have employees at the bunker sometimes, staffing them, that turn away non-city residents, they turn away contractors, businesses who are attempting to use our bunkers. We have identified and penalized illegal dumpers after reviewing our security cam footage. When we have monitors at the bunkers, most of the people who are in violation are actually angry, upset. They harass the monitors who are out there. Why are you picking on me? This kind of thing. It seems that having people monitoring the sites is pretty effective in help mitigating that. We have a lot less problem at the west side than we do at the east side garage, but we don't have the time or staff to do that on a daily basis or to review all the video footage. Currently, the waste bunkers are open to residents from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. 7 days a week. When we have folks available, we do monitor the bunkers between 7 and 3 on non-holiday weekdays. And when the bunker monitors are present, anyone dropping off items must show proof of city residency and verify that the bulk waste meets the rules. Illegal items or unauthorized users are turned away. As an example, on one day alone, the bunker monitor allowed only 3 of 27 bulk waste visitors to actually unload vehicles. The 24 out of 27 who were turned away were either non-city residents, contractors, or had material that was not allowed to be deposited in the bulk waste bunker. What we're finding is after 3 p.m. on weekdays, when the bunkers are unmonitored, that's when we're getting most of our dumping to occur. We provided you with some photographs here showing what typical Monday morning looks like at the east side yard waste bunker, or the east side bulk waste bunker. This is so well utilized, and there's so much material being dropped off that I actually had to go in this summer and lay out the employees' parking lot and change where the employees access the parking lot because the waste was across the drive aisles. We couldn't get our own staff to come in to work on Monday morning.
Those are perfectly good matters there.
So what we're finding, the issues that we're finding, contractors and non-city residents are using it as a free alternative to paying fees for the proper disposal of their material, even though they're not supposed to be using it. Most illegal dumping occurs when we don't have employees present to monitor. Residents want a one-stop shopping experience. They don't want to go to the materials recycling facility to drop off recyclables, then go to the HHW to drop off household waste, then go to the transfer station to drop off bulk waste. They just come over to our facility and drop everything at once. Most bulk waste bunker users don't know that the bulk waste program costs a significant amount of money to the city to operate. They just think, well, I pay taxes or what have you, and I should be able to drop this stuff here. In order to correctly enforce the use of the bunkers, we need to be able to staff them. We don't have the staffing or the funding to monitor them on a 24/7 basis like they're currently being operated. The east side shop is more routinely abused because the bunker is outside of the fence. Employees are often not present to monitor the site because it's a satellite facility, and violators are aware of those two facts and they take advantage of that. The west side shop bunker is located inside the inside the fence. It's easier to control because the gates can be closed, and this keeps the users away from the bunker during closed hours. Also, there's often people in the yard at the west side shop, so folks are a little bit more conscious that there are eyes watching them. By its nature, it's easier to monitor and control the bulk waste bunker program inside the shop, the west side shop, because it's inside the yard. If the rules are not enforced, abuse of the program will not resolve itself, and we'll continue to see increased tipping fees. So what we did is we looked at 2 potential alternatives to how the facilities work right now. Alternative 1 would be to completely abandon the east side bulk waste facility and maintain just one location at the DPW west side shop. That way we could post a monitor at the bunker and strictly enforce the operating hours. It would only be Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., and the second and third Saturday of every month, 7 to noon. Sundays it would be closed. The selective weekend operating hours eliminates illegal dumping and gives by holding it in the middle of the month, You avoid the first weekend of the month and the last weekend of the month, which is typically move in and move out times, to try and curb some of that. No other cities that we know of offer the bulk waste collection on the weekends. So this would not be inconsistent with how many other municipalities work as well. So because we would be offering it 2 weekends a month, we think we're still providing a service above and beyond what our neighboring municipalities do. We would look to restrict the vehicles that can come in to private cars, pickup vans, SUVs, and trailers only. No commercial vehicles at all, and nothing with a dump body. That'll help cut down on the large volume users. Alternative number 2 would be to relocate the east side facility to inside the fenced area. We could then modify the fencing, surveillance cameras, and some of the outdoor lighting so that when the outside bunker is eliminated, when the gates are closed, maintain the existing facility at the west side shop, post monitors at both locations, and then, again, change the operating hours similar to what we did before. What this would do is still provide a facility on each side, east and west, as opposed to completely shutting the east side down. It'd be a little bit more cumbersome for us because there's not as much room inside the yard at the east side shop, but if the desire is there to be able to provide both facilities, we'll find a way to make it work. We're open to that. But one of the things that came up during the budget hearings was the waste tipping fees. And I identified at that time, and I'll say it again, we firmly believe having this bulk waste collection program, the way that it's currently operating, those tipping fees are going to continue to creep up because it's impossible for us to properly manage and staff these sites the way that they're currently operated, being open 24/7. And word has gotten out. Contractors and non-city residents know we're getting waste from all over the place. People are coming in. We've had trailers come in there, and we've had some folks come in with a pickup truck hauling an enclosed trailer. And these folks have actually figured out where the cameras are. They enter in such a way that their headlights blind the camera, and then they turn the vehicle so you can't get the license plate.
During the daytime, here's one, this is just one move out. We have no ID on the vehicle. But this is one move out. They filled up their trailer and move out some waste is illegal. You put 4 or 5 of those in there, say on one Saturday, you get a significant amount of
Steve, one
waste
quick
in the
question.
bunker.
Remember when you
And
used to have the
construction
waste paper
waste.
drop
Yeah.
off right across the
Construction
street
waste that
on the west
comes in.
side?
Yep.
By the armory? Now, you shut those facilities down, right? You don't have any paper waste
No.
pickup? What about if you actually shut the service down to one site? In other words, just have it on one site, on the west side?
That is one of
That's
our
one of the
recommendations,
alternatives.
one of our alternatives.
Well, I don't, personally, I think that would inconvenience a lot of people on the east side.
Right, because
There's three West Siders on this committee.
You know, I'd like to throw out a couple other things, you know, you know, I know that come Monday morning, there's lots of stuff that you gotta load up on trailers and trucks and haul out of there, and sometimes you get many truckloads of stuff going out there. Is there any feasibility of, you know, if somebody wants to drop something off, they have to put it on a trailer? You know, that you don't have to keep.
We talked briefly about that, but you'd have to have something that's safe and accessible to get up, to get over the top of, say, the trailer dumpster or what have you. Plus, we get so much stuff, east side, I believe a couple weeks ago, we had 36 dump truck loads out of the east side bunker from the weekend.
Yeah, I can
So
believe that.
we need multiple trailers if we were gonna have them dump right into the trailers.
Okay, you know, I guess, as far as the hours are concerned, you know, I like alternative 2, obviously. And I don't know, I think we could talk a little bit about the hours, you know, 7 to 3, I don't know. Do you get a lot of people dropping off? It's early in the
We
morning,
get people
7
during the
o'clock
day,
in the
yes. Regular
Well,
business days.
7 to 3 coincdes with our normal
With
work
your
day at
work
the shop,
hours.
so we wouldn't
Okay.
have to reschedule people
I see.
or incur overtime charges to have it
Sounds
manned.
good.
Okay. And would you have somebody just standing by the pile seeing when people are unloading, or would you have somebody by a gate when you check in that you gotta show your ID, or?
Well, they're right there by the bunker.
By the
They may sit in a vehicle if it's raining in between customers coming in, but yeah, they're right there, right
Okay.
by the bunker.
You know, I think.
A lot of times, to the extent that we can, if we have some folks on light duty, that's a really nice light duty assignment.
And right now, we have 3 alternate duty employees recovering from injuries, so we are staffing, and it's very effective.
Yeah, well, you know, the move-out waste is always an issue when somebody's moving or cleaning out a house or what have you, but I don't know how you control that. I mean, somebody is cleaning out and you bring a load in of junk, and then they come back and bring another load and so on. I don't know.
We do
it's-
catch them though, we have had them come in with
Yeah.
a full trailer load.
But isn't it basically a case of, you know, do you put something out every week, or do you, when you're moving out, all of a sudden you got a load of
Well,
stuff
if you
to haul?
remember when we had this discussion 3 years ago, when we were talking about going automated and getting rid of the
Yeah.
curbside collection, the biggest concerns we had were the random bicycle and the odd toilet.
Yeah.
Okay? Those 1 or 2 items, if somebody brings a couch, because they got a new couch, if somebody brings a mattress and box spring because they replaced their mattress and box spring, that's pretty easy to tell. If somebody brings 4 mattress and box spring sets, the headboards, the footboards, a couch, a love seat, a chair, and a toilet, they're moving out.
And the kids' old bike.
Okay? There is some judgment that has to be exercised, but oftentimes it's pretty easy to tell. And if we've got the monitor there before they ever start unloading, that's a move out. That's not what this facility is for. You need to go to the Brown County Transfer Station. You already got it on the trailer.
Just, yeah.
Any questions on that?
No, I don't know if you want us to take any action today, but I'd certainly think alternative 2 is something that I could support.
Okay, well, Alderman Sawyer's question.
Yeah,
I'm not opposed to taking action.
There's a number of questions, I think. I mean, this is an interesting discussion, but,
Yeah.
you know, and I've dropped a few things off at the west side, and I remember thinking, you know, you read the sign, this is allowed, this is not allowed. And one time I had something, and I was dropping off, and I said, I don't know if this, I did it back and forth a couple times, and I'm figuring if the cameras are out and what have you. It just seems like there are some people that are taking advantage of that. They're saying, you know, we're gonna try to skirt the system. That bothers me a lot, you know, that, you know, what, you know, if this is a service that's bringing value to the city and bringing money into the city, that's one thing. But if it's to the point where you have extra employees, it's a budget thing, can you give me just a concrete number saying that, yeah, this is still beneficial to the city, but in terms of monetary, I mean, are we losing money on this?
Yes, we're
losing?
definitely losing money. We're losing
So-
well over $100,000 a year.
Yeah, there's no revenue stream.
Okay,
It's all
that,
expense.
You don't
That-
make money.
The-
yeah.
One of the
So-
things that drove getting rid of the curbside collection of bulk waste was a reduction in workplace accidents. That was driven strictly from a safety perspective. There was a cost implication to that, but the cost implication was due to lost time accidents and workers' comp claims. Okay?
So those have dropped appreciably.
Considerably.
Okay,
And a shoulder surgery, if you need a rotator cuff surgery, so rotator cuff surgery is about $63,000 right now. A back surgery for a disc is in the $95,000 range, okay?
And unfortunately, we've had a decent handful of those over the last couple of
Yeah,
years.
so if we, well,
Or
our
before
rotator
that.
cuffs,
Yeah.
since we went automated, our rotator cuff surgeries have dropped through the floor.
so if you take that factor along with the fact that we're not making money on this, are we still coming out ahead in some way?
Well, I think if we were to modify how the program operated and get some regulation on it so that it's not a free-for-all and people outside the city and,
Yeah, I'm
you know,
not
the
happy with
abuses of
that.
the system, if we can curtail the abuses of the system, I think we could show some real savings. And we all just sat through a very, very difficult budget cycle, you know. I don't, We operate a Cadillac system in the city of Green Bay. When we look at the service level that we provide to city residents versus what the suburbs, there's a reason that the taxes are higher in Green Bay. I honestly believe that we provide a lot better service to our residents than the other folks do. But it's come to a point where we need to start really looking at that service level. I think we still provide more of a Cadillac, maybe we're down to a Buick, okay? But we're still outperforming, in my opinion, what the other munis are doing. We're just curtailing other people and abusers of the system. And we're still accomplishing that goal that I set out with. Again, I always made the joke, I could squeeze a nickel so hard that I could make the Indian cry and the buffalo wet himself. And if you understand that joke, you're old enough to understand a buffalo nickel
I
in the
do,
first place.
thank you.
But, so I take financial stewardship pretty seriously. I also, more seriously than that, is the health and safety of my people. I don't want them out in harm's way. One of the reasons we were okay with the bunkers is because it's in a controlled environment. You're not stepping out of a truck on a curb in a bad, okay? If you're on our turf, on paved surface, and we can use heavy equipment. Now it's just simply a volume.
What kind of fines or monies have we collected from people that have been abusing this?
Offhand, I don't know that.
I mean, that's not a revenue stream that you're looking for. It's just.
It's not a revenue stream because it doesn't come anywhere close to offsetting the amount of tipping fees. Even if we catch them, that's an after the fact, and we've already had to pay for that garbage to be disposed of.
Yeah. But, you know, it's
Yeah, so
amazing.
I'm good for now.
It's amazing that in that one case, there were 27 people and only 3 of them were legal.
It's amazing.
You know, there's got to be a significant labor cost to the city too when you come in on Monday mornings and you got to haul out 20-some trucks.
Sometimes it's Wednesday morning before we're back to ground zero.
Yeah.
And you could be doing other things.
Correct.
So.
And we have downsized our staff, even over the past couple of years that I've been the director. We continue to cut wherever we can, and
Yeah.
I can't do it anymore. I'm gonna have to start adding staff in pretty quick.
Gentlemen, any other questions, or what is
One other
your,
question.
Alderman Vandelis?
Steve, on the, where you keep both sites open, would you have those sites open then just from 7 to 3, where you could kind of monitor those sites, is what you're saying?
We would have them open 7 to 3 during the workdays, and then 2 weekends a month. I think.
And what
was
kind
that,
of
7 to noon?
economic
Well,
dollars are you
Yeah.
talking as far as staff? How much money are you talking for staff?
This would fit within our existing budget. We'd be able to use our
Yeah.
existing staff. For the 2 weekends a month, we'd probably just have to shuffle some folks' schedules around. Normally you get Friday or Saturday and Sunday off. We would look for volunteers that you'd get, maybe you work half a day on Monday and you come in to work 7 to noon on Saturday, then you get the other half of Saturday, Sunday, and Monday morning off. We flex time.
My proposal would be that we recommend that, if you're comfortable with it, that both sites would stay open and, you know, just have them be more monitored from the 7 to 3 and the twice a month. You know, that would be my recommendation.
Is that a motion, Alderman Vandelis?
That'd be a motion.
A motion by Alderman Vandelis to go with
Second round for
alternative 2.
discussion.
Second by Alderman
Steve's
Stoyer.
comfortable with, are you comfortable with that, Steve?
We are.
Okay.
Under
That's
discussion?
Well,
Yeah.
Discussion?
I'm good.
Because then both sites would be open and you'd be able to monitor, and you probably will, if you deter half of those people away,
Yeah.
it'll be a big savings.
Absolutely.
So, and the fact is that everybody that would come in, they would have to show their ID.
Correct.
Now, I just want to make sure that the licenses don't say Green Bay. Like the zip code, it's the community they live in.
Right.
You know, their license, because there's always,
Our operations staff is pretty
know our
sharp as
streets.
far as knowing the streets in the city.
that's good. That's good.
Just for an example, I have a shop on 7th Street, and somebody moved out and they put all their junk right in front of my overhead garage door. It took me like a day and a half to clear all the junk out. Like, there's a conservatory in the back, and they threw a lot of it in the conservatory, clothes, bags and stuff.
You know-
I had to dispose of all that,
Yeah.
and maybe this will deter.
Well, that's the
Next time, give us a
problem
call.
there, is that people could dump it in alleys and other places
Yeah.
around the community.
They did it to me twice.
But
We'll get them.
as long as we provide some option for city residents that have a legitimate
I would,
need, they're
I'll
about
just
the
second
ways.
that.
Well, there's
Okay.
there's a motion and a second to approve alternative 2.
Yes.
Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 9, consideration with possible action on Parking Division's report regarding the current pay-by-phone demonstration project.
Okay, as we started moving forward with the implementation of the recommendations of the change to our parking access and revenue control system, our park system, one of the things that we heard when we did the parking study was folks wanted a more of a variety on how they paid for parking. Folks like me who carry cash around are becoming more and more the oddity. Younger generation loves their technology and being able to pay with their cell phone. So, Parking Division researched different apps, met with people during national conferences, things of that nature. And based off of their evaluation, Passport Parking was a vendor that seemed to offer the best benefit to the users and would work well with the city. So the benefits that we found, folks don't have to carry coin with them anymore. They merely need to have their smartphone. They get a text notification 3 minutes before the meter expires, so it gives them a chance to get out to the car and get out of the parking stall. Or if they're at the Adams Street lot where it's a long-term facility, they can simply extend their time without ever having to leave right from wherever they happen to be. Users can pay from the comfort of their vehicle, so you pull in, you see the meter number and the location. While you're sitting in the car, you can, if it's snowing or raining out, you can complete your transaction while you're sitting there, and then put your phone in your pocket and get out and take off into the store you were headed into or what have you. Users can track and document their parking use and their trends and history for business purposes. Our parking staff doesn't have to handle the volume of coin that they've had to historically do. That stuff is very bulky, very heavy. The parking patrons pay a 10-cent per transaction fee, so every time that you use the app, it costs you 10 cents. We thought that was going to be a problem, and what we've heard from parking patrons is they don't mind paying that 10 cents for the convenience of not having to carry coins around.
Is that something that may go up, I suppose?
I guess it's always possible over time, but we actually saw a slight reduction in the original.
Right. Yeah, Passport gets that 10 cents, because there's a cost to their service to us. But yeah, it was originally hired and they realized
they
that we don't
actually
need to charge
reduced
that
it.
much and they cut it back. I think it was like 15 cents.
Yeah, something like that. One of the things that we found was revenue has been increasing with the use of this app, because when you're using the app, it overlays the system. When you look at the meter is still flashing, saying expired, because it's all handled on the app. Now, our enforcement attendants come around and they see the flashing meter, and they have an administrative version of the Passport app. They go in and look, and oh no, there's still 40 minutes on that meter, this car is good, and they go on, okay? So there's 35 minutes left on the meter, and I go and say, okay, my business is done, I leave. The next person comes in and says, hey, a meter, and they pull in. Meter's flashing expired. They log into Passport. The Passport transaction is a personal, not a meter one. It's me. And when I left, next person pulls in, says, I'm at this meter, and they pay for 2 hours of parking or what have you. Any unused, you can't jump in on somebody else's unexpired meter anymore. So what we're finding is we're actually generating more revenue as a result of that. So we did a trial period. Each of those benefits were realized. We were originally worried that the convenience fee would handicap the program, but it hasn't done so. What we did is took a look at August 2015 versus August 2016. So the only thing that was different, parking rates stayed the same. The only change that was out there was, do you have the parking, the pay by phone or not? So in August 15, we won't go through each line item, but overall, in August of 2015, we generated $27,103.66 worth of revenue. In 16, same month, we generated $31,210, $4,106 increase in revenue by allowing this technology to overlay. The beautiful part of it is because we don't have to change the meters, if somebody wants to pay with coin, they still can. So it provides multiple ways to pay for the meter, and we're seeing an increase in the revenue.
And there aren't a lot of people using it right now, but it.
Right.
It's been continuously getting more popular.
Getting more.
So is there a way to get a number on that? Because it's like
Well,
anything
about-
else, everybody doesn't have a computer either.
Right now,
So-
about 3% of our patrons,
Are
about
used.
3% of our revenue at the meters, because the meters is the only place we have this app right now. About 3% of our revenue is being generated off of this, and we've not really advertised that it's out there. This is kind of word of mouth, or people just looking at the meter saying this app.
Yeah, and there's decals on every single
There are.
meter.
Is there a cost to the city involved, Steve, with this?
No, just that 10 cents per transaction fee that.
Which we pass
passes
through.
The pass on that.
The only real cost,
Motion to approve.
the cost
Yeah.
the cost we've had is staff time to go out and put the stickers on the meters.
And that's over now.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Alderman Vanderleest to approve.
Yeah. Second.
Is there a second? Second by Alderman Nenning. Any discussion? Let's see, the motion would be to,
To accept passport, I would, as
yeah,
our
the recommendation.
vendor.
Continue with the past.
Yeah.
Could
continue
you,
and-
over
and-
Continue
time?
with the passport program.
I just has a question over time that just, occasional reports to us.
Oh, absolutely.
As far as how that's going and it's increasing.
You're gonna be seeing a lot more coming to us as we start moving forward. We are going to, we've got a program to continue the implementation of the automation and the recommendations that were in parking studies, so you're gonna be seeing more parking-related
Okay.
issues
We'll
come
just keep-
forward over the next year.
Okay.
All right, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 10, report the award of contract 2016 36-inch water main pipe replacements.
If you remember back at the October meeting, you granted us the ability to award the contract due to time sensitivity. Received 5 contractors. The Grote Incorporated was the low responsive bidder at $269,122.25. I believe that the water utility was estimating this one about 400,000, so it was a phenomenal bidding
These
environment.
are really high.
Yeah, well, I think you had 2 contractors who had work in-house, and we had some other contractors who were looking for work. So water utility was very pleased with this.
Did they
Water-
build pools?
Unfortunately, no.
What did you say?
Did they build pools?
So we're simply reporting out that we did make the award to a low responsive bidder, and it came in under the project estimates.
Move to receive and place on file.
Motion by Alderman Nenning to receive and place on file. Second by Alderman Stoyer. Discussion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We held 11 till the end, so number 12, consideration with possible action on an application for a concrete sidewalk builder's license by Quinn and Sons Concrete LLC.
Do we skip?
We moved that.
Yeah, we moved that to the end.
Yeah, so it's 12, 13, 11.
So we would recommend approval.
All right.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Stoyer, second by Alderman Nenning to approve the application for Quinn and Sons Concrete. Under discussion, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Number 13 is Director's Report on recent activities of the Public Works Department.
And seeing as I've been gone for 2 weeks, I don't have a lot to report. What I can tell you is the biggest thing I've been hearing over the last 2 weeks is relative to leaves. We're in the process right now of completing our 5th rotation through the city. As I've talked to several of you already, we couldn't take a chance of getting caught with a snowstorm and having our trucks not ready. So I made the decision on the 13th, we pulled the fleet in and we started conversion of our trucks to winter activities. That's about a 2-week process to do that. So we're still out with tractors and pans. We haven't completely abandoned. It's a little slower going because the equipment that we're using right now isn't the most efficient, but we are out there. We're still knocking off at the leaves. We've got our baler out, and the baler is towed by our largest tractor, and that large tractor is also used for snow moving. That's about a 2 to 3 day turnaround to get that piece of equipment ready to go for snow moving. So we keep an eye on the weather forecast. As long as we don't see anything imminent over a 3-day window where we think we're gonna get snow, we'll continue to use the tractor and the baler as well until we get through the leaves. So we are gonna continue pulling at leaves until we can no longer do it.
Alderman
And
Stoyer.
just a quick addition on that. Things have been going real well. The 5th round is lighter, obviously it peaks and drops off. If the production tomorrow is as it's been all week, we could be done with our full 5th round by the end of the day tomorrow, and then we're done with leaves.
That'll be it,
And move into
okay.
winter.
I guess the question I had, thank you, Chair. Steve, the question I had, and Chris, you know, and I had asked, you know, in our district, I know there's other districts too, that leaves are falling. I still have some trees that haven't dropped yet, but, you know, I'm resigned to that fact on some of the stuff that I'm gonna have to deal with it. But what I have found is that, you know, you folks came through our area, did it, great, thank you very much. But there are still folks, I don't know, you would think that you get to a point where, okay, this is the 5th time through, you know, we're ready for winter now, but yet they'll still put it out there, and they put big, there's a number of fairly large piles scattered here and there, but they're more isolated. Do you find that folks will call, or they fight back on that at all, or they just think, well, you know, somebody's gonna come and get them, you know, I
A little bit of both.
you know, I mean, you get to a point where it's like, okay, I think we've done everything we could
Diminishing
do.
returns.
A lot
What's
of them
that?
put it on the road.
Yes.
That's to the end.
We get snow real early, sometimes you see those piles shoved right up, when the balls go through, they're way up.
Bomb into the
That,
neighbor's
that's,
yard.
that is something that we're gonna be coming and talking to you about before we get into next spring with spring yard waste cleanup and one of the reasons that we fund the leaf cleanup is to help keep that material out of the storm sewers. Okay, it helps us gain compliance with our MS4 permit for storm sewers. But we're having a lot of problem with folks putting that stuff in the road, and that defeats the whole purpose. If it's in the road and we get a rainstorm, now it's directly into the sewer. Okay? So for years, we have been going out and trying to do educational efforts, and I think we're at a point where we need to dispense with the carrot and bring out the stick. So we will be bringing forward some recommendations. It'll probably be a program not too dissimilar from the long grass program, or the way the long grass program used to work, where if somebody puts their leaves or yard waste out into the curb line, we'll go and we'll educate them the first time. But then they go on the SASE list. And if we have to go back to that address a second time, then there's probably gonna be a charge for service associated with that.
That sounds good.
And that's usually with the garbage pickup, or, you know, when you guys come through, is that, I mean, they'll take note of some of these properties.
Yeah, when sanitation section is out doing their regular rounds, they're noting things. If street section happens to be rotating through that area and they happen to notice something, they'll mark it down.
I always thought it was complaint driven in that, but, you know, it would seem to me that, you know, you're out there, the people are out there doing this job, so I don't know how difficult it is to just take those notes and bring them back.
Sometimes we actually get notice from inspection department, where inspection is out, you know, one of the housing inspectors is out doing an inspection on a new house construction, and hey, I happen to notice there was, you know, a big pile of something in front of this address, so
Yeah.
we'll take that and we'll
But
respond.
like I said, that's, you're not gonna get every place like
No.
that, but it's something.
Do you run the leaves through the tub grinder, or what do you do?
Mhm.
Okay, even the bale ones?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
leaves, brush, grass, everything gets put together, so it gets a kind of a consistent mix.
Yeah.
So when it breaks down into mulch.
Yeah, I
it-
knew
it's
you
a
did that
consistent
with a
mulch.
lot of the yard waste, I wasn't sure about.
Kind of a recipe the operators have for so much brush, so much leaf, so much
I
grass.
see.
Are we selling some of that, you know, some of that recycled material? I know that there's, when you go to the sites, you can get free soil and mulch and things like that, but didn't we talk about that at one time?
How much are we actually selling, or are we just giving away?
No, we, no charge to residents.
Right.
You know, when we have a little bunker out there at the yard waste centers, and we sell to certain contractors, they'll use it for different things. We've actually sold our bales in the past to some farmers for cattle and or horse bedding. They'll take it and then we don't have to process it.
But is there
In
some
those
kind of
cases,
policy?
sometimes we'll just give it to them because we don't have to really touch it.
Right.
But the mulch would typically, I think it's like $2 to $3 a yard to the large volume contractors, just Because we gotta keep it moving. We can't keep it.
So that seems to be working fairly well.
There are some improvements that could be made, but the improvements, we could make a higher quality compost and generate more revenue off of it, but we'd have to have a significant investment in material because we
store
need to buy, well, we need to buy a screen, a trommel screen. And then we'd have to pay somebody to go out there and screen the material to take the deleterious materials out of it, like plastics and,
And rotate the piles more often than we do.
so there's always, it's a cost to benefit ratio, and right now the benefits don't justify the cost.
We've been told we're in the area of maybe a 90% product, not including the
Right.
garbage
Still
that
good.
can get in there.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad product, but you got plastic and occasional cans and bottles in there.
On the site on the west side, which side do you have to, that the city's gonna be vacating from the county? In other words, are you vacating any site as far as on the west side?
I'm not sure what's going on. At county budget hearings, Alderman Dwayne and Supervisor Erickson apparently came to some sort of an agreement where we were going to be able to stay on the parcel that we're currently on.
Is that where the people drive in right now?
Yeah.
And, well, heck, I'll help support that if it comes to the county.
While I was up north, I got notified by somebody at Corp Counsel's office that County Port and Solid Waste Department has changed their minds and they're planning on using that site for storing materials now when the deal's off. So I need to get in touch with
Okay.
Alderman Dwayne and Supervisor Erickson and find out what's going on there. I'm hoping it's a case where they've got some new folks in the Corp Counsel's office and
We do have a
it's
new attorney there
miscommunication.
now. So
I'm
maybe
hoping
they
it's a
can-
miscommunication and that's
That's a
not
good
acceptable.
site.
Yeah, it's-
It is a good site.
It is.
go there a lot.
I do.
Well, if they talk to me about it, I'll say, hey, I'm all for the city staying there. So.
So, we'll see.
All right.
Why would you wanna
Anything else?
move?
We
Yeah,
don't.
we don't.
That's what I'm saying, why would you wanna move unless you got a site that's, you know,
Well, what happened, I was still in private practice and Brown County was one of my clients. Brown County owned the property that's on the corner where all the Phragmites are growing.
yep. And then you got the big, who owns the big high stack one? Does-
Brown County.
Brown County.
Okay, so they own the Bayport disposal facility, that's where the dredged material goes. And that corner property was 2 disposal cells back in the day, prior to 95. That's where they disposed the dredged material as well. And then where we're currently operating, that was city-owned property. When Brown County looked at expanding the dredged material disposal facility, because the city's property was more contiguous with the fill area, it made more sense to have a new fill area for the future there than on the piece of property they owned. County owned 15 acres, the city owned 36. So there was an exchange, a property transfer of the 21 acres, plus the county, I think, paid a little bit for the extra 15. We got 10 years residency. We were allowed to stay where we were for 10 years, but in 10 years, we had to move out. Now, that 10 years expires in February
I'll
17.
find out on that then.
Okay? What we're finding out, the property that we got from the county that we're supposed to move onto, we've been told several times by the Corps of Engineers that they consider that to be wetland area. And we can't use it for a yard waste processing site because we would be filling high-quality wetlands and we'd have to mitigate. I'm trying to get the Corps to back off of that because it's 7 feet higher than the surrounding area and it was, you have to look, there's 3 things that cause a wetland, okay? There's hydric soils, hydrophytic vegetation, and hydrology to support both. Are they hydric soils? Well, yeah, we dredged them out of the river. They're pretty much hydric. Is there hydrophytic vegetation? Well, yeah, there's swampland all around there. Seeds get carried in on the wind. Is there hydrology to support it? Well, yeah, the way they used to dispose of that material is they bring it in wet in the trucks. It was like consistency of concrete. And they dump it, so there's a pile here and a pile there and a pile here and a pile there and there's valleys in between it, water ponds in there. So you have hydrology, you have hydrophytic vegetation, you have hydric soils. By definition, it's a wetland. Well, sometimes if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's not a duck. This was a created situation that the Corps created. So we're trying to get them to acknowledge that and say that it's not wetland area, but I can't get them to do that yet. If they come back and they tell me that, we're sorry, Steve, that's wetland area and you can't put a yardway site in there, my next move is gonna be coming back to the county to say, I want my other 21 acres back. You gave me something that's not usable for the purpose that we had. And I got a feeling that's gonna turn into a fight between the city and the county at that point.
Interesting.
I mean, was that known before with that switch? I mean, of course, no.
No,
you're-
it wasn't.
All right, John.
That's a
In
good
your spare-
history.
In your
No,
spare time.
yeah.
All right, we'll check on that.
Well, as luck would have it, I happen to live through both sides of it as an engineer. I represented both sides at one time or another, so.
Anything else on the report, Steve?
That's it.
All right, motion to receive and place a file.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Steuer, second by Alderman Eddie. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Now back to number 11, consideration of possible action on the review and award of the contract Colburn Park Pool replacement. Obviously, we forwarded it on from Parks to council without any recommendation. Probably would make sense to do the same thing.
Well, I think what we could do is, we have the ability under the contract to hold the award for up to 90 days. If we were to take action to hold the award at this point in time, then make sure that the Parks Committee agenda is handled before INS next Tuesday. Once Common Council takes action on the Parks Committee agenda, when you get to the INS agenda, we could pull this item and make whatever modifications to the hold action as would be necessary at that time.
Will that 90 days have anything, well, I mean, if this all goes through, the way it's deemed to be possibly, would there, I mean, there's the fact that there would be no pool, or it'd be construction for the whole year. Would that 90 days cause any undue?
No, because if action were taken next Tuesday, the action's done next Tuesday, just like it would be if you approved it tonight. There's no change. We wrote the 90-day window in there. We normally have the ability to hold for 60 days. We wrote 90 because we didn't know where the bids were gonna come in. We hedged our bets a little bit.
Yeah, but even in the best case scenario, Chris, where if the city were to say, okay, we'll bond for another 2.3 million, it takes a while to get that approved.
Oh, right,
And that doesn't,
right.
just-
I,
you know, that has to go through the process, bidding process, and
Right.
you know, there's a public comment period where somebody could challenge a bond issue.
but,
Have to go through the whole process, so, you know, we don't want to screw it
Well,
up.
I'm less worried about that. It, more so just to make sure that whatever bidding process from Parks was taken care of. That's why we did what we did.
Proper motion to hold the bid.
I would think a motion to hold would be okay, because you could modify that motion on the council.
Move to hold.
Motion by Alderman Enig. Second by Alderman Mengeles. Discussion. Those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Alderman Steuer. Second by Alderman Mengeles. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Okay, all right.